It's tired tunes on the truck.
Of UAE.
Hey, happy New Year, happy 2026. And this is my first talks with Allie. And I just felt compelled to make this video about my experience in the county courthouse family division. I went about 3 times in the last few weeks with a friend who wanted support, someone to go with her, as she had some business to take care of there. And I learned a lot, I feel, in each one of those visits, and just sitting and observing. The courthouse is not an ideal place to go to, but you sure as heck don't want to be there because you've got litigation against you or just the stresses of bringing litigation against someone else. But the family court division in particular is a sobering place. It is a cold place. It is a sad place. And it is a humbling place. And I have 2 takeaways, plus some advice that I would advise on being in such a place. Um, After I graduated college, I had a friend who worked in the DC court system. And I didn't realize, I think, until I went to the county courthouse in the past few weeks, I could understand my DC friend better, is what I'm trying to say, because that friend in DC would talk about the cases that came across her desk as a court assistant, the kinds of lawsuits that would be filed in the courthouse, and just how much people can't get along. But that was her 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, everyday job. And I feel like people who work in a court system have a very realistic, logical, kind of glass half empty view on life. Cross your T's, dot your I's, don't leave anything, any stone unturned. It's either black or white, up or down. There's no go with the flow-ish. It's very oomph because you've got so many problems and you see all kinds of cases that I feel they have a kind of slight doom and gloom look on life. I'm not speaking for everyone in the court system. That's just the impression I got from my friend, and having gone to sit in the lobby of the family court division in our county courthouse, I was just moved by all of the kinds of situations coming in and out. I also have a cousin who is a retired family law judge in New York, and I interviewed her a few years ago for my magazine, and she noted how family law is one of the saddest parts of law, because families are getting torn apart, and they're really sad situations. And I really started to get it because in walked, when I was at the county courthouse with my friend, people filing for divorces, custody cases, even people fighting their own parents for custody of their child. So their parent, which is the grandparent of the child, has legal custody, and they're there arguing about not wanting to pay their parents child support because of whatever reason. It's a messy place, and I began to be sobered up really fast. And the two things that I took away from my experience of just sitting in the lobby and listening to these cases or these situations are this. First, take seriously who you choose to marry and who you choose to have a child with. The very first time I walked into the county courthouse a few weeks ago, there was a guy ahead of us, and on Christmas Day, he got a call from his teenage son that his mom had once again thrown him out on the street. Now, I don't know if the child did anything to warrant being kicked out. That's not my business or concern. Whether he warranted being kicked out or he didn't, it's still a sad situation. And there the father was trying to get some sort of quick custody of the child. He couldn't go pick up the child that night because legally he didn't have custody. And I guess he's trying to do things the legal and lawful way. And I could tell that it caused him great stress and consternation and trying to get through this life problem. And it's a reminder that you have to be very careful who you get involved with. Now, nobody is perfect. Even if you marry the most amazing man, or if you're a woman, you marry, or a man, you marry the most amazing, respectful woman. Nobody is perfect. Yeah, but it it's important to make such a decision carefully because it's easy to get into a marriage, it's easy to get into a contract, it's easy to have a baby, but it's a lot of work to raise a baby, and it's a lot of work to put into a marriage, and it's a lot of stress to be married to the wrong person. I think about Princess Diana, who only at 19 got married to now King Charles III. I think he's the third of England. But in their engagement period in the early 80s, she began to see red flags and that he wasn't the right one, perhaps, for her. And she was already beginning to feel the stings of pain. And she confided in one of her sisters who said, "Oh, your face is printed on the tea towels now," which is a souvenir that Britain makes when members of the royal family get married, on coffee mugs, on tea towels, on keychains. The couple's faces are imprinted on these souvenirs. So the sister said, "Your face is on the tea towels now. You can't back out now." And I think about her because she began to see things and she didn't feel confident in her gut. And if she would have gone with her gut, perhaps she would have maybe made a different decision. Perhaps she would still be alive today. I don't know if that father in the courthouse saw red flags in the mother of his child before marrying her, but there is wisdom from his situation and from Princess Diana's and friends and family that you may have, that I may have, who have traveled the long road of pain because they chose to marry or have a child with somebody who wasn't the right choice for them. And I think that it requires a lot of bravery and courage to walk away, especially when you've already started planning a wedding. But you may fare better if you choose to walk away from situations that aren't going to be healthy and good for you in the long run. The second thing that I took away from sitting in the lobby of the family court division is that try and choose peace. There's a Bible verse, Romans 12:18, which says, "It is possible as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." And Hebrews 12:14 has a similar message. By the time you get to the courthouse, to file suit against somebody or somebody who has filed suit against you, the relationship is already broken down. It's already in the negative. It's already in the red. But I think that it's always possible to choose peace. I know that in the business world, contracts and that arena is quite complicated, and maybe you can't always be super nice, but I think that no matter what arena you're in, business, a marriage that's broken down, trying to um, find a custody solution, there's always a peaceful solution that can be picked. And I think, when it comes to relationships like marital or child custody cases, the two people that entered that relationship, the mother and the father, they most likely entered it with joy and happiness. And most people don't go into relationships thinking and hoping that it breaks down and that there will be fighting in both sides. And I think that if you can keep in mind, hey, I entered this relationship peacefully and with joy. It unfortunately has broken down. What can I do on my end to be more peaceful in the situation? The situation isn't going to change. It's broken down. Things aren't going to be put back together how they were. But what can I do to choose peace? Because when you sit in the lobby and you're hearing, my ex did this and I'm fighting for custody of this. And then a lot of, I noticed, these parents, they bring their child with them to the courthouse and maybe they don't have anybody to watch the child. I'm not judging that. But I also don't think that's the most healthiest place for a child to be while you're fighting for custody of that child and you're angry at their other parent. I don't know if that's just the best place to bring a child, if it's just from my experience of being there. I think if you can find somebody to watch the child while you have to take care of legal matters, that might be best. And seeing the child look up at their parent and hearing all the messiness, that affects a child's trauma and what they're going to remember and what they're going to have to sort through with their own psyche. There was one child there, the father didn't have good English, and so the child's there helping the parent with the English translation with the court worker against his own mother. The father's there trying to sort out the situation against the child's mother. So, um, I think if it's what I witnessed, what I observed, if it's just possible to choose peace and maybe the other parent isn't being peaceful with you, it's just great if both sides can try and choose peace and not be fighting and trying to take revenge. It's just going to make the process a lot easier. And the third thing, not something that I took away, but a piece of advice on what I would probably like to do if I'm in such a situation of, we've all been there where we've got a friend who we can clearly see that they are dating, about to marry, or talking about marrying, or talking about having a child with someone who isn't what we think is the best choice for them. And maybe we've been the person who a friend has tried to tell us, hey, this person is not good for you. Who somebody ultimately chooses to marry and have children with, or decisions that people make, that is their right, even if we think it's a mistake. And we ultimately have to love them still and make peace with the decision that they're choosing to make, even if we think it's a mistake, even if we can foresee down the road that this is going to end horribly, we still have to respect their decision. Um, Earlier in this new year, actor Sylvester Stallone did a Happy New Year Instagram post. And at towards the end of it, um, it's just interesting how he dropped this wisdom nugget in just so randomly. And he said, don't try and change people's minds, just change your own. We can't change people's minds inevitably. But the one thing I thought about in sitting there in that lobby is that if I've got a friend in the future who I can foresee that they're about to make a disastrous mistake in marrying somebody or talking about having a child with someone, I'm just going to say, "Hey, let's get in the car. I've got somewhere that I need you to come with me." Take him into the courthouse, into the family court the division, and just sit there for an hour, at least an hour, where they can hear at this window, at that window, and people coming up and people just coming and going. And they can see for themselves, they can hear for themselves the loads and the burdens that people are carrying. And it might be a sobering experience for them to hear and see that for themselves. I had a friend who I knew she was making a bad decision, but she was determined to marry a man, and they were both in the church. And I tried to reason with her a few times until I realized that she was going to do what she was going to do. 7 years later, the marriage, I mean, what he did to her was absolutely horrible. Absolutely. It's uncalled for in the lengths that he has gone to try and destroy her life and use their child as a weapon against her. And um I thought, man, if I had had this experience of being in a family court division, I would have said, "Hey, let's get in the car. Let's go on down to the I got somewhere to take you, and then we just go sit there and she can hear." But a lot of times people aren't gonna really see a situation until they walk through the pain of it, and this might have been the case with her, and this might be the case with other friends. You're like, "Oh, maybe I should take him down to the courthouse and they can hear in the lobby these awful situations." For some, it might work, and for some, it might not, and they may get mad at you for trying to take them to a courthouse. But if you really love them and you're trying to just be a good sounding board and a loving friend or family member, then maybe it's the risk of them getting mad, and maybe they're not going to see what you're trying to tell them until they go through the hardship of this. And then now this friend is for the next 15 or so years, she's got to walk this long, hard road with this man because they have a child. And I think of Michelle Obama's quote, life is long, but life is hard, but life is long. And life is going to be even harder and even longer when we choose to marry the wrong person, have a child with the wrong person, or enter into a contractual agreement, be in business with the wrong person. And that's why it's very important to listen to wise counsel, to trust your gut. Like Princess Diana had a gut feeling this may not be the right decision, because if we don't listen to wise counsel, if we don't listen to our gut, if we don't listen to Holy Spirit, when red flags are being like shown in front of us, we could lose our lives, or we could lose a lot of money, or we could have to deal with a person for 18 years at least because you've got a child with them. So, um, I just wanted to share that because going into a courthouse, I spend a lot of time at fashion weeks and red carpets and Cannes Film Festival and the glitz and glammy things of life. But going to the courthouse and that family court division was so sobering. And it's like all of the glitzy things in life don't matter. If you're dealing with custody battles and lawsuits and a difficult spouse, it's hard to enjoy the glitz and glammy things in life. And God is such a loving father that he doesn't want us to undergo stress like this. And, if we can maintain in 2026 and beyond having a teachable spirit, a contrite heart, um, a position of I'm willing and able to listen to other people when they're trying to give me loving feedback and stay open to wisdom and change, then we can have a easier life. because our egos are submitted and surrendered to wise counsel, to what Holy Spirit is trying to say and protect us from. So, yeah, you're going to learn a lot if you go sit in a courthouse lobby, and most especially in the family court division. It is a sad place, and I hope that you never have to go to one. So, God bless you, and I hope that you found some wisdom from this video. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode and that you have found a soulful connection to the conversation. God bless you, and until the next episode, go bless somebody else.